How's it going? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time as a listener, thank you for joining us. If you're a reoccurring listener, thank you for joining us once again. If the subject and the contents of coaching, leadership, and team is something that you're passionate about and resonates with you, think this channel is a great fit, think this podcast is a great fit. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Enjoy listening to on podcasts. Don't even worry about that instruction. Have a great day. All right, let's talk a little bit of recruiting, okay?
Yep.
If you're building your prototypical ideal corner, what does that look like to you?
First off, he gotta have speed, length, foot speed, and length. Saying length is like newer for me because I'm a smaller corner. So I was always like, yeah, you can recruit a small corner, but gotta have length because I think it attributes to tackling. I do, and then ball production. But he's gotta have speed, length, foot speed, and then you gotta have instincts. I believe you can see instincts, and I believe you can develop instincts. Actually, I think instincts is a combination of knowing what to do, combining it with your movement. So as long as I can teach you the game and give you the skills to move, I can teach you any technique, and it's up to you to go make the play. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Ball production's got to be a thing. Can you play the ball in the deep part of the field? And then you got to have an edge to you. If you don't got no attitude and you're a oozer on tape, I can't take you because
Yeah.
it's too, you play too quiet for me.
Yeah. Let's talk about that length a little bit. Is there a range of height? Like if you're recruiting a guy, like, hey, I'm not going to go on this guy unless his arms are a certain length. If he's on the shorter end, what does that look like? What does that skill look like
I
for
think
you?
there's some of that. I think you could take a 5'10" guy with a 6'2" wingspan, you know what I mean? Because he can touch people at the line of scrimmage and he can tackle. I think, the 6'2", 6'3" guys, I think, those guys are unicorns because, it's if a guy's 6'3", you kind of are lenient on his movement because he's a 6'3" guy. He's not going to be as twitchy, but can he play corner? Because usually you get 6'2", 6'3", like, all right, he's a safety. But if you 6'2", 6'3", you twitched up, you got great foot speed, and you can get out of breaks, you're a corner. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that would make you a unicorn, in my opinion. As long as you're around 5'11", 6 foot, you can run, you got twitch, and you're competitive, I think you can get the job done.
Yeah.
And really, a lot of these guys are coming out of the wide receiver line. I want everybody to understand that. So the wide receiver lines at camps are there's 30 people in that line. There's 5 people in the DB line. You might want to come over to the DB side and try it out a little bit, and you might get you some offers.
When you're going on the road or when you're evaluating tape, how much are you looking for positional versatility, or are you trying to pinpoint a player like, okay, this guy's a safety, this guy's a corner, or do you kind of want that positional versatility?
I want the versatility just because of the defenses that I've been a part of. You got to be able to play all 5 positions in secondary. So corners got to be able to play some nickel. If you can't do any of those, then we'll move you back to safety. You know what I mean? But you got to be able to play boundary and field because the best 5 guys have to play. You know what I mean? So, as long as you got cover skills, can you tackle? Can you communicate? I think you could fit in my preferred secondary. But the guys that I've coached, like Skyler, started off as a corner. Jaheim started off as a corner. You know what I mean? So they have the foot speed and cover skills, which make them a better safety. They just kind of outroot a position. They're guys that we can put on the outside. So position versatility is big. I'd always take a guy who's played multiple positions in high school over a guy that just played one. If he's not that elite at it, he got to be an elite at it in order to just kind of leave him there. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. Are there any red flags that, may not seem obvious that if, something comes up within the evaluation or recruiting process where you're like, you kind of just write this kid off real quick?
Yeah, you just can't.
Doesn't have to be on the field, and more so off the field too.
Yeah, I mean, I could just feel your edge, you know what I mean? If you just kind of a quiet guy, you like to just kind of chill and, you just too cool for me, like, nah, because these receivers like to pop it, you know what I mean? They like to, I need somebody that's going to be able to fight with me too, you know what I mean? Like if something go down, are you going to, are you a guy that's going to jump in the fire, you know what I mean? I can't have a guy that's just too nice. I don't really like that, you know what I mean? Good kid. I like him, good kid, but you got to have you got to have some background to you, honestly, you know what I mean? Because you got to be able to respond at corner. You out there on your own, the sideline talking crazy to you, you know what I mean? You got to be able to respond. If you got a ball caught on you, can you finish the game? Have you gone through something in your life, some adversity? Because I always tell these kids, everything outside those gates of the practice field, you've gone through something worse than anything that could happen within the practice field. A penalty, a touchdown given up, anything. You've been through way worse outside here. So I'd like a guy that's been through some adversity to where he can respond in a game.
Yeah. Talking about grading film, or excuse me, watching tape, watching recruits, is there anything that's kind of unique in the evaluation process for you that when you see it on film, you're like, okay, I really like that guy. For example, like one thing I always take up when I was working at with Coach Mirabal at Oregon, like he wanted to see how an offensive lineman got off the ground. Like, was it oozy? Was it segmented, or did he just pop off the ground? Like when I'm looking at defensive back play, like one thing I liked as an evaluator is like, okay, one, willingness to tackle, and then two, how was he tackling in space?
Mhm.
That which I think is pretty common. But if is there any little niche things that you're looking for on tape that might be unique to your process?
Yeah, I think willing tackler is a big thing. Is he throwing his face in there? Because there's two different types. Are you scared? I can see if you're scared. Or are you just not strong enough being taught the proper technique on how to tackle? Like I can see the difference in the approach. You know what I mean? Is he sticking his foot in the ground and running to it, or is he hoping and catching? You know what I mean? And then I think being able to make the play is big to me because you can't teach that. You can't teach playmaking. If you can't disrupt the football, if you can't get the ball out, if you can't intercept the ball, and that's not on your tape, you're not a playmaker to me. If it's always a catch tackle or, you just a step late, it's like, you don't have the playmaking ability to me. And like I said, that's just something that can't be taught in my opinion. You either got it or you don't. So that's what I look for. Is he a kick returner? Is he returning kicks? He can make plays. Is he intercepting the ball? He can make plays. Is he jumping screens? He can make the plays. But if it's just, there's no special teams on there, every time they catch the ball, it's like he's a step late. It's like I have no type of trust it and just go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm always going to be trying to coach you to be perfect in order to make the play. Can't do it.
Yeah. Do you ever, I mean, on a particular recruit, if he's playing receiver and he has great tape, like, do you help that in your evaluation? Like, I guess, does offensive film assist in your evaluation, hurt in your evaluation, kind of affirm or confirm your evaluation of that player? Or let's just say he was a crappy receiver, but he was a hella DB. Like,
I think you can see something. I think it's coachable traits. You can see if
yeah,
he has ball skills. You can see if he, is he physical? Is he a willing? If he's a willing tackler, he's a willing blocker. You know what I'm saying? How natural is he? You can see his movement. Does he run out of his breaks at receiver? Does he high point the ball? I think those things you can see. You know
yeah,
what I mean? But ultimately, you'll just see which one he's more natural at. You know what I mean? And if kids don't want to play DB, you tell me you don't want to play DB, I'm not gonna force you to play DB. Excuse me. But if a guy's like, Coach, I'll play wherever. You know what I mean? I can deal with that guy. But some of these dudes just do what they need to do for their high school team, which is fine. But if you tell me you don't want to play DB, you just don't got the mentality. I'll just take it as that.
yeah. How has, I guess, Oregon State and at San Diego State, like, how has the recruiting process and the evaluation process overall changed with the influence of NIL? Like, are you guys looking at a player and this player, is really good, and whatever the assigned market value is in that player is, you guys already write them off because you guys might not be able to afford them, or what does that look like?
Now, are you talking about high school kids?
Yes,
Okay, so
more
high
so
school
more
kids.
more so high school kids, and if you can touch on college as well, that'd be good.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's much with the high school kids. I think those guys who are going to the big time schools, I mean, who knows what they're getting to go on unofficial visits or whatever the case is. I think those kids are kind of out of reach. But you'll be able to tell just through their parents and the communication. You know what I mean? Either they're gonna ask to talk to the GM. You know what I'm saying? Like you already kind of know where it's going, or some kids is like, Coach, I'm all in. I want to be here. It's usually not the kid though, to be honest. They just want to go somewhere and play. But it also depends on where those guys go to school at. They might be around a bunch of 4 or 5 star kids that are getting flown out for trips, unofficials, getting gear, getting paid, whatever the case is. And they come to your school and they think they're going to get the same treatment, run into a little bit of that too. You know what I mean? But I think you keep the same approach. And then I think what NIL has done is expose, these kids and families' true intentions. You know what I mean? Are they really a guy that's really about development and going to play and earning the money eventually or not? Like Chris Johnson, who just got drafted, was here 4 years, didn't leave, went first round out of here. You know what I'm saying? So his intention wasn't to go make the most money. He got the big money in the end. He won the war. You know what I mean? So and then as far as the transfers, definitely. But I think at this level, being at Oregon State and being here, I think it's been more beneficial to you can get plug and play guys from bigger schools. But if a guy's making $500,000-$600,000 at a bigger school, he's gonna want something close to that to come to your school. You know what I mean? But is he that? Because why would you take a pay cut and still think you're that quality player? You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think the FCS and JUCO guys are more of the targets because one, they have production, they're still developmental, and what you're able to offer will be more than what they've already had anyway. Not to say that you lowball them or anything, but you can give them something. There's still more to earn as they develop. And then with JUCO guys, those guys come from nothing. You know what I mean? So a scholarship is still valuable on top of them being able to produce, and then you give them what they're worth.
Yeah, no, I hands down agree with that. And, I had a conversation with the coach, and it was kind of early January, right around the national championship time. And we were just talking about Indiana's roster. And it just kind of goes back to a lot of things that we talked about today. But if you looked at the roster, like how old that roster was. But
Hmm.
then when you look at age, like you think maturity and you think experience. And those are some of the more valuable, traits that I think within the college game. Because everything you're
Hmm.
saying, like one of the biggest challenges you said was outside noise, right?
Right.
You get a 23-year-old, 22-year-old kid, right, who already done went and chased girls at 18, 19, already lived kind of like the party life, his freshman, sophomore year, and now he's strictly ball. Like that makes a big difference. And that's a competitive advantage when, like you're
Hmm.
saying, these guys are focused, right? With age
Yep.
and experience, you have a lot more focus. So it's going to be interesting to see what, in the coming years, what college football looks like. But I think
Yep.
you're exactly right as far as like I would rather take an FCS player with a lot of production or just a lot of snaps.
Hmm.
Just a lot of snaps, and a JUCO player with production and snaps over, maybe a bigger school kickback. But
Yep.
anyways, in your opinion, does 7-on-7 and now you got, 5-on-5 O line, D line, do those tournaments carry weight in reference of the recruiting process?
I mean, we can't see them, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing. I think they carry weight as far as the development of a specific player. Like if you need to go get better at coverage and learning your scheme or just getting more reps, I think you should be out there. But if you are a DB that's slow, you probably should get on the track. You know what I mean? If you are a lineman or something like that that needs to get your body together, you probably should go get in the weight room or go do something else. You know what I mean? So I think it's priority based, you know. I don't want to say that 7-on-7 just is not it's not gonna help your recruiting because we can't see the film. You know what I mean? I think, you can see a guy's movement on a clip or something like that. It kind of backs recruiting as far as, all right, we watch the tape, pull up his Twitter, see if he's got any media on his Twitter. Okay, you can see he has ball skills. He made this amazing catch at 7-on-7. I think that's what it can help with, but I just think they need to prioritize it. You know what I mean? I don't think you should skip out on track season if I'm an 11-5 guy and I can get under 11 by just going and running track. So I just think the guys should prioritize what they need in their development before doing 7-on-7, 5-on-5.
Yeah.